You're watching the Eternal Tournament Series.
And we are back. The top 8 is ready here for the ETS 2018 Season 2, Week 2 Open. I am Sir Rhino, and with me in the booth all day, it's been a pleasure, is Ilyon.
Yeah, I'm happy to be here. And oh man, I'm so excited for this top 8, both in two different ways. I'm excited for top 8. So we have a matchup of Ilyak and Kamado as first and 8th seed. But then we're going to be observing our second one, which is 4th and 5th, top 8 versus Moosh. And top 8's list it's interesting. It's called, are we calling it headgear? Is that what we landed on? Well, that's what they were calling it.
Yeah.
It's a pile of stuff. I just need everybody to take a look at that in a minute. Then we're going to have Sifu Danny and Wallow as 2nd and 7th seed, and Platypus King and Child Roland kind of rounding out our top 8. But we're going to jump into this match of Praxis versus a headgear pile. It's Crown, Mask of Torment, and a whole lot of interesting little synergies with that, with like Devoted Theurge and Katra and Black Sky Harbingers and Yeti Pulse and just a ton of interesting cards. So I can't wait to drop into this match.
I don't appreciate you describing this as a pile. A pile implies there's no elegant plan at work here, and there is clearly, this is the epitome of elegance, as top 8's bringing this, Life Force Relics is what we got on the deck list. He called it headgear, and I like that, right?
Yes.
You got crowns,
I love headgear.
you got masks, they go on your head. I get it. Beautiful deck naming. That's what Eternal needs more of. None of this Akaria Blue nonsense. Headgear, I like it. So it's got 4 Mask of Torment, it's got 4 Devoted Third, it's got 4 Black Sky Harbinger. I like that. I'm sold already. I want to see this in action. It went 5-1 today. It's got the results to back it up, at least for today, and apparently did pretty well in the Casual Friday tournament yesterday, taking it down 4-0. So it's putting up some real results right now. We'll see if it can keep it up, as now it's got to test its mettle in a best of 5 format up against Moosh on Praxis mid-range. And do you think Praxis has the tools to keep up with this monstrosity?
Probably not. I mean, we're looking at the deck, and we saw that it has not 4 deadly Black Sky Harbinger possibilities, but 6, because it's running 2 Yeti Pulse as well. So, I mean, if you just get your Crown of Possibilities down on curve and deadly all of your units, it's an easy win.
Yeah. Traditionally, these kind of decks that are low on interaction and all in on going over the top can feast on these fairer time mid-range style decks, whether it's a Legion or Praxis. It doesn't really care or matter. It's more just Praxis generally won't be able to apply enough pressure fast enough for to overcome what this deck could do in the late game. I've played enough Katra against Praxis to know that if you get the right setup on her, she just totally takes over the game. Your whole board is 7/7s and it's it. This Praxis deck, though, is pretty quick with the 4 Initiate, 4 Trailmaker. It could get ahead and stay ahead in enough games that I think it's got a shot here.
Oh, yeah, no, absolutely. I mean, we're joking a little bit here because of this list, but I do think that, like you said, this deck has more to it than what people might at first think, just because of the simple fact that against mid-range lists and a format that's absolutely dominated by a lot of mid-range right now, just going over the top of that and having just an insane late game is going to do a lot of work. Like, we're joking about, I'll crown deadly Black Sky, but if that happens, it's absolutely bonkers against these kinds of Praxis lists. You just wipe everything, gain a ton of life, and they don't deal well with the flyers in the first place. So there are some real plays that this deck can make.
Yeah. For every deadly Black Sky Harbinger, there's also a Reckless Camel, and it'll be fun to see how those balance out. So I think we're ready to go. We'll give these players the go-ahead. Friendly reminder, this is the top 8. This is a best of 5. We're no longer best of 3, so that means players play until one of them wins 3 games, and you also don't sideboard until after game 2. So if you made some minor mistakes with your main deck, you're stuck with them for twice as many games in the top 8 as you were on the way to it.
Yeah, and we were talking about before too. We're talking about Crown of Possibilities and Black Sky Harbinger, but really the core of the deck is not the Crown of Possibilities, which is only a two of, but rather the Mask of Torment. So it's Mask of Torment and Devoted Theurge, and that's where this list might look unfocused. But if you really just kind of count it down to just the 4 Mask of Torment, a lot of this deck is all about life gain. So you've got like 4 Temple Scribe, 4 Vara's Favor, 4 Camels. You have 4 Devoted Theurge, Katra, Black Sky Harbinger. So it's really trying to just get a ramp set up here and get Mask down early, ramp to a billion mana, and then just go over the top with a ton of different synergies.
Yeah, this deck's doing so many different crazy things, but ultimately, as you said, it's about generating a ton of power between Theurge and Mask of Torment, and then doing stuff with that power, whether playing Yeti Pulse and activating them, drawing lots of cards with Wisdom, strategizing Channel the Tempest, activating Talir ultimates, who knows. Once it generates a lot of power, it's got plenty of things to do with it. It's about getting to that spot, and by having a lot of natural life gain in the deck, it's easier to get to that spot. That being said, Moosh is starting out with a pretty fast go here with the turn 1 Initiate, but can't follow it up with a Dawnwalker, as the only other time source in their hand was a depleted Amber Monument.
Yeah, that's pretty awkward. The plus side of this is that they do have Purify in hand, which is pretty good against the deck that's trying to just stack abilities on different things, or just have creatures that have a lot of abilities, things like Katra. Silencing a Katra is a pretty big play for Moosh, even if it doesn't kill it. So that's nice for them to have that as an option at least. And Reliquary Raider is a good draw. There's not a lot that can happen to the Reliquary Raider right now. I mean, I guess that it gets blocked into the Katra, but we know that Katra is going to die to Torch or Purify if that happens.
Katra's not coming down here anyway. She might cost 4, but you basically never play her on turn 4 unless it's in like an Oasis Seeker style deck. She's more of a late game card in this style of deck where you're really trying to stall out the board, get some random camels down, then play the Katra. And kind of have your whole board of seemingly irrelevant camels and scribes explode into huge threats.
Yeah, that's really the goal. I almost see an argument for playing it there just to hope that they don't have the Torch or the Purify, because you do happen to have the Dark Return. So like you can try and run it out there and stop the card draw, because the card draw it's not great here for them.
Yeah. I think I prefer this plan instead, where you're going to just dark return your Temple Scribe that you chump with. Yes. Plus, you've been seeing some pauses. You almost certainly know they have a Torch. So I think just digging for your pieces, stalling out is the plan that top 8 is going with here, and I can appreciate that. Lots of power, though, in the meantime.
Yeah, and I like the plan of just drawing extra cards with Temple Scribe, because you're really just trying to stall out long enough that you can set up your late game, because you know that your late game is going to go over the top of basically everybody, because you're playing a bunch of just nonsense cards that are something that most people would dismiss but end up being very powerful. Oh, opting to instead go with the Katra. So they're trying to set up for Dark Return Temple Scribe. It's not working out. You didn't see the Torch come out from Moosh there, instead deciding to wait and go for Carnosaur.
Yeah, they knew they were playing Carnosaur that turn, so why use a Torch? You get to use it in a future turn. There's a Crown, but you've got to slam the Black Sky and try and stabilize, and maybe next turn do Crown, Dark Return, and hope something crazy happens. But in the meantime, Praxis doing exactly what it wanted, which was stick an Initiative Sands, ramp out some threats ahead of time, and now just back that up with whatever you want. And in this case, it's some Purifies, Torches, and Dawnwalkers.
So is the hope here for top 8? If you're top 8, are you hoping to go Crown, just basically chump with your Black Sky Harbinger, and then live the dream of getting it with Deadly? Like, that might be, it's a low chance, but that might be your best out, right?
Yeah, sometimes when you're behind, you gotta gamble. But this Harbinger being silenced is going to cut down on some of the crazy things you could pull off here.
Yeah, it's looking pretty bad for our hero top 8.
It's just the first game. We'll see what happens. Crown into
for this game in particular.
Yeah, you still have Crown and Describe, and then you have a top deck here that could maybe do something. Nope, not Seed of Cunning.
I mean,
so here we go.
Every once in a while, I was going to say, let's go on Mr. Toad's Wild Ride. Every once in a while, this can hit like a Destiny and just get there.
No, just
yeah. Well, Destiny off of the Temple Scribe.
Sure,
Is what I was
sure.
thinking, yeah. But like, yeah, no, it's unfortunately just another power card, and that should seal the deal.
Yeah, top 8, just could not keep up with this really, really nice curve from Moosh. Had a little too much power and a little too many things that were simply chump blocking and doing nothing. So as what we talked about, this Praxis deck is a little faster than some of the other time mid-range decks out there, thanks to Praxis's Placer Initiative, Sands, Trailmaker. It's got reach with Torch. It's got a bunch of Carnosaurs and Heart of the Vaults. And we saw it leverage that in that first game.
Yeah, and we're seeing, I think, the power of a card like Reliquary Raider when left unanswered, because that just drew so much card advantage for Moosh just to keep slamming 6s over and over and over afterwards. Like, Reliquary Raider is one of those cards that it looks really unimpressive because it's easy to stop, but if they stumble at all and you get a few cracks in, it does a lot of work.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. Reliquary Raider, when it got changed / buffed, it was tough to figure out exactly where it could go, but it was likely going to do something in like these Initiative Sands decks where you can actually get it down on turn 2 and really leverage its ability quickly. I was thinking we were going to see it backed up more often by Obelisk, but a lot of people have just been fine with it being a natural 1/3 that occasionally gets seen in initiation to start drawing cards sooner and become a 2/4. But a lot of times just as a 1/3, it's been okay, largely because of certain other 3/3s and things getting pushed out because of Hailstorm. It's like this weird, Hailstorm's had so many odd effects on what people play and then what gets played at large in terms of what kind of X3s you're willing to play with now. And it's more driven the metagame towards this value game rather than aggro or tempo game.
Yeah, absolutely. I know that during one of the breaks, like a card that we were talking about that got really weirdly affected by Hailstorm was Jotun Feastcaller, which is a card that benefits from there being more control, but is also strongly hurt by Hailstorms. So it's kind of like seeing more control, you would expect to see more Jotun Feastcallers, but because all the control lists want to run the Hailstorm, it's like in this weird spot where it actually kind of can't work. This is a sweet hand from top 8. I like this. They've got the mask already, and they've got some card draw. Like this is, and some scout. They're really set up.
Yep, the strategize, smoothing things out. Even if Moosh had that acceleration, they'd have Vera's favor to answer it, but Moosh doesn't. So top 8 will be able to sculpt out the hand that they want. Notably, holding on to this Talir has big plans for it. Maybe just it simply being a 7/7 is enough to be great in this Praxis matchup.
Yeah, I like holding on to Talir. I think that you just need to have a significant number of threats here. And they've got a lot of card draw and the ramp with the Mask of Torment. I'm assuming that they're hoping that there's not going to be too many disjunctions coming down, but we'll see what happens there.
Now, top 8's going to really explode in power here, right? They're going to go Mask of Torment. Then the next turn, they could Temple Scribe, or Temple Scribe plus Vera's favor, or whatever. They're going to just have tons of power. Not tons of influence. So, if they find their quad primal spells, they won't be able to cast that. But everything else, they're just going to fill up their hand and start dumping it real quick.
Yeah, they can play all 3 here and go up to, what is it, 9 power? Yeah, I mean, that's pretty good. And they noticeably topped the time sigil, so they can actually get Talir down right away, too. So this is certainly going off for them right now.
Yeah, this is the power of a mask on turn 4 for this deck. When you build around it, you just get all this power. And they are going to opt to Vera's favor here, just maximize the ramp as soon as possible rather than maybe get some scout value out of this Crest of Wisdom.
Yeah, I was kind of wondering if they would go for that and just try and set something up, because they would like to see one more big thing, I think, right now. Like, they'd love to get a crown or like a devoted Theurge, something to really push it over the top at this point.
Yeah. But I think they were going to consider holding on to Vera's favor. But once you saw the Black Sky Harbinger, you knew you'd just have a ping effect if they ended up playing Dawnwalkers or whatever anyway. Yeah. So that makes some sense. And Moosh has nothing to do here. Praxis's Placer, they want to save that, although it's going to be less effective as top 8 continues to build tons of power. And here we see all of the cards they're getting assembled now. And when you have this much power, you can actually set it all up. You can go Katra plus Campbell plus Wisdom all at once. And that
just dodges the Purify. Purify being a slow spell here is really going to hurt it. I mean, we're going to watch this Katra just go off next turn. And I don't think there's really much that Moosh can do here.
Yeah, Moosh can use Purify to silence the Leer, or I guess we're going to see Praxis Displacer finally come down and bounce it. This might be as good as Displacer gets, but it means you're not playing one of your other big threats like Behemoth or Heart of the Vault here.
You might just attack. Yeah, I was going to say, you probably attack first just to see if they block so you can get the Purify. And I mean, you got to be crazy to block as top 8 here.
Yep, you don't care about taking damage. You're a life force deck.
No.
You could take 5 damage here and there, and yeah, just forced to use Displacer on this Talir, which means top 8 will lose out on 2 held over power. But there's the Camel, and we're gonna go off, baby.
Oh yeah, I love this. This is insane. So this is just going to put the nail in the coffin. Oh, and Devoted Theurge. So for the people that don't know, this is my #1 favorite combo right now in Eternal. It's just so sick. So Devoted Theurge, you can, and on summon gives you 4 life, but on top of that, you can pay 6 as many times as you want to give it +1/+1 and gain a life. And with Mask out, that means that you're going to get more and more power. I've remember myself when I fell in love with it was when I made a deck with Mask and Theurge and got to 160 power.
Oh yeah.
So that I had 40 power Great Parliaments, and it's just super fun. So we're gonna see Devoted Theurge come down next turn, I imagine, and just start pumping up the entire board.
I'm honestly a little surprised to see even any blocks out of top 8 here with that Temple Scribe on the Praxis Displacer. But what's Moosh going to do here? He's got 2 silences with Purify. Could silence both pieces, but that won't kill either of the pieces. If you play Heart of the Vault, you're losing. And yeah, there we go. We see the Purify into World Bear Behemoth. So Katra is silenced, but it's still a 5/5. Meanwhile, Mask is still ticking up. +7 power it's providing right now. And keep in mind, that's not all it does. You can ultimate pay 20 and get the Tormentor, which is also really good against Praxis, I would say.
Yeah, I was going to say, like, does Praxis have any way to beat the Tormentor here? I mean, I guess the Purify, right? But then they still have to deal with the 8/8.
It'll be grounded by Titan for a while, but, eventually you're going to, I think top 8 will just bury Praxis in card draw and value, but here we go. Devoted Theurge is here, and so is Talir. There's just a lot of things for Praxis to deal with, and Purify helps a little, but it's not going to deal with all of them.
No. I think that it's interesting not using the Theurge immediately, but I guess that Talir is actually just more value here because it's going to pump by 3 instead of just by 1. I'm so used to going like Theurge and then just immediately using it that it's, to me, it seems a little weird, but it makes sense. I don't. Do you even block here at all?
Apparently, top 8 does. Yeah, that's.
I'm not sure I like that. I think that I would have just not blocked. Honestly,
you've got a Camel, a Harbinger, and a Theurge. You'd be taking 11 damage down to 14. That's a little surprising, but now Moosh does get to clear out this board. The Torch finishes off Katra. But that means Talir would survive unless you Purify it. Oh, and you're just going to go and try and kill Talir here. Sure, that makes sense. And now Moosh... Yeah, Moosh has a shot here of actually just winning this game. He's got the 2 biggest units on board. Top 8 kind of threw away a Theurge and a Talir there.
I mean, it's not over. Far from it. We still have both. They have to deal with both the flying units of, the Black Sky Harbinger and eventually the Tormentor here in a minute. Yeah. And that's not. They do have the Sandstorm Titan, but they're relying on just it and the Tormentor itself. Like, they might just be willing to throw it away to get the 1/1s because over time that'll take over the game.
And yeah, this swing from Heart of the Vault means. Wow, valuing Camel over Harbinger.
That's
surprising choice, in my opinion. There's Crown of Possibilities, but I think we're going to see the Tormentor show up here.
Anything is possible, yeah. But I was going to say, you got to think that Tormentor gets through. And it kind of makes sense then to trade for the... Like, it makes sense to trade for the Heart. I'm surprised Camel over Black Sky Harbinger, but it makes sense because to get the Heart down for sure, because you want this Tormentor to be able to get through. can see a double block probably coming up here, but I mean, Tormentor's just not going to care, right? Like, you just get in and you're just going to make 1/1s forever. Oh, and a second mask is a really good scout here.
Yep. Yeah, I'm swinging with the Tormentor here. Sure, they've already used a couple silences, so it's unlikely to get silenced, but you're getting to clear out Sandstorm Titan, which means then your Katra's unlocked to start swinging. So I like swinging with the Tormentor here, but top 8 disagrees with me.
I don't think that there's really much that Moosh can do at this point, though. It's kind of a moot point in a way, because like we were talking about before, where this is the game that top 8 wants, where if the game goes long enough, it doesn't really matter what pieces they put together. Any number of weird kind of end game pieces will just go over the top of Praxis, whether it's Mask Ultimate, whether it's, you know, Black Sky Harbinger getting deadly off of a Crown of Possibilities, whether it's Talir. There's just so many things like that that go way over what Moosh can do that it's going to give them some trouble. I am surprised not to see that attack, though. Dawn
Yeah,
Walker.
so top 8 will be drawing a mask here and be able to play and activate it right away and have 2 Tormentors to pressure, but Moosh has the ability to block all of them. The thing is, if you're not swinging now, like, what is your plan? Like, when are you going to, right? Because your deck doesn't really play removal. You just break through board stalls by throwing big units at them and burying them in cards. To be fair, your deck does have a lot of Harbingers and Yeti Pults, so like these random Dawnwalkers could get cleared out by a top deck, but you can also just clear the way now and have the Spitelings start going to work.
Yeah, I think that the Spitelings were what you wanted before. We're deciding to attack now, which I like. I wish that the attack had come out a turn earlier, but this is still fine. Because like now, unfortunately, you're just trading the Tormentor for like a, you know, Sandstorm Titan alone and not trading it off for where you would have gotten both a Dawn Walker and the Sandstorm and gotten even a little bit of extra damage in over that because of the ability to overwhelm. But yeah, we're still in amazing shape. Oh, wow. And Channel the Tempest comes down for some extra gas. Those Spitelings are something that like Moosh isn't going to be able to deal with that either.
Yeah. Channel the Tempest is going to draw 3 cards, and top 8 will be able to play all of them. Deadly Thurge of Channel the Tempest.
Another channel. So we're just going to chain channels together here. Goodness.
And that's what happens when you have this much power, thanks to your Camel plus Mask. Top 8 sitting at 40.
And we're just unable to Yeti Pult and Ultimate, but still seems pretty good. I think this game's well and done. Yeah,
Yeti Pult's actually lethal here. You kill Initiate, Ping Face, and Camel will be lethal. Okay. Top 8, not a fan of lethal, but now instead you just trade for Heart of the Vault, and it's lethal anyways. One of your Spitelings will finish the job next turn. It's so far ahead, it doesn't really matter.
Yeah, no, all of these lines, it's totally fine. Like you're in such a commanding position, it really does not matter at all.
And this deck firing off on all cylinders, just doing so many different things that the synergy just adding up to be too much for the Praxis deck.
Yeah, and if the format becomes too much of mid-range lists kind of smashing against each other, then you start to see these lists that'll just go over the top of it actually having a shot, because it gives them enough time to set up. And if you give Crown and Mask enough time to set up, it can do some crazy things. As we're seeing this game end with 41 power for top 8 and just chaining multiple channels together. Like, it goes pretty crazy.
The tale of 2 games, I'd say, to start off this match, where game 1, we saw the Praxis do what it wanted to do, which was start on Initiate and curve out beautifully and get the beat down on. Whereas in game 2, the Headgear deck did exactly what it wanted to do, which was turn 4 Mask, turn 5 Explode. and that's what it did. So both decks kind of doing exactly what they wanted to do in alternating games. But now sideboards come into effect, and we'll see how that affects things. Moosh notably has 4 Shatterglass Mage in the sideboard. I think those are coming in.
Yeah, you got to think those. I was going to say there's no disjunctions, but there are Shatterglasses, so that's going to be pretty important here. And the Headgear list, do they play I'm just looking. They don't actually have any waystones, so they're not going to be able to make face Aegis, which would be pretty important against that kind of a strategy, stopping Shatterglass mages from killing your important combo pieces. So that looks like it's going to be a pretty key sideboard for Praxis midrange here.
They do have Disjunction, but if you're bringing that in solely to bring back your relics because they got destroyed by Praxis Displacer, it's kind of dead in every other scenario unless Moosh decides to bring in Xenon Obelisk, which I don't know if that's going to happen here. It is nice against all of the ping effects to help keep your 1/1s alive, so it's possible Moosh brings in Xenon Obelisk to help bolster like the beatdown acceleration plan, and that would make Disjunction a little more appealing as well.
I think if I'm Moosh, I would want to bring in the Xenon Obelisks here because it does, like you said, blanks all the Varus favors, kind of blanks things like Black Sky Harbinger and Yeti Pulp. And those are all pretty important to get rid of. Plus, the bigger thing, honestly, almost is just that you're able to put more pressure on fast. Like, if you manage to curve out into an Obelisk, that's a big game against the deck that's just trying to slow things down and set up these incredibly long board games so they can smash through with, 41 power at the end.
Exactly. So I think that ultimately means maybe some number of Disjunction will come in from top 8. But who knows? It can do some work, but it also runs the risk of being a dead card in certain games, and you don't love to see that in a post-board matchup.
Yeah. Do you bring in Katra the Devoted here for the headgear deck?
I think 2 is the right number that you want. Yeah, it's nice against Praxis, but she requires some setup. Unless your plan is to try and get away from Mask or something else that's slow, like Crown or Tower, and replace that with Katra, which can also be slow. But as we saw that last game, what you really want to do is gain a bunch of power and then go off with Katra plus Camel plus card draw, right? You kind of need all of those pieces where you don't have you have a decent number of life force enablers, but the payoff of Katra requires a lot of setup that you don't want to awkwardly hit 2 and then not have everything else set up properly.
Yeah, I think that honestly, I think I'd like to see all 4 Katras come in. It gets answered by Torch and Purify sometimes, but the thing is that you're not worried about Harsh Rule or other board sweepers. They don't have a lot of silence. It's really just Purify. And if you just overload on that, maybe cut even it sucks, but you might want to cut some Mask of Torment there or Sunken Tower, like you said, maybe Sunken Tower, Crown, Sunken Tower, things like that, where that there's probably going to be some Shatterglass mages coming in. So you can rely a little less heavily on some of those and instead go more of the, just make a massive board kind of plan.
Currently, top 8 has both a Mask and a Katra in hand, so who knows how those numbers changed. In the meantime, Moosh had a kind of slow start and now needs to debate on whether or not to play this Trailmaker to try and unlock an accelerated 5-drop, or just go with the Dawnwalker here and try and get some pressure started now.
Yeah, you kind of got to get the pressure as much as possible. I'm loving this hand from top 8 right now. This looks really good. Mask plus Camel is sick. And Shatterglass is a fair ways off. They might be able to get some stuff going before that.
Shatterglass is potentially a fair ways off, but by playing this Trailmaker, Moosh is actually threatening Shatterglass Mage next turn, and this Mask might not generate any value whatsoever. I think you're still going to play Mask on this turn. I think it's much better than playing Katra here. But there's a potential that you just play Mask and it gets Yad out of existence.
Yeah, you're in. This is actually now trouble for top 8 because they're stuck with Shatterglass Mage killing the Mask, and the Katra we know is going to get blanked by that Purify. Oh, Purify coming down against the Camel, though. That is interesting.
That can also effectively blank Katra, right? As now her enabler's gone, but a new one shows up. Black Sky Harbinger off the top of the deck not only has lifesteal, but clears away this Trailmaker, pushes Moosh back down to 3 power. And now Katra's going to go
off. Yeah, now Purify can stop it after this point. But by the end of this turn, you're going to be dealing with a now 6/7 Black Sky Harbinger and a 5/5 Katra. So even though you're purifying it, it's gotten a ton of value. That's
and
going
there's
to be
no
hard
Purify
to answer.
here. This is like
right.
over.
Yeah, there's no purify anymore. Yeah. No, God,
Moosh
I
is
forgot
on-
about that. It's not even used.
Moosh is
Right.
on 3 power. Top 8's out of cards, but it doesn't
And that's
matter.
just the game. Wow. Yeah, Katra just doing work.
Mm-hmm. And that could have been a totally different game if Moosh simply drew undepleted power that turn, right?
Was able to use the Shattered Glass instead. Then they have to purify the Katra. And then suddenly the game is just wildly different. But yeah, that just changes so much just because of that one draw.
Yeah, and that's the power of Mask getting buffed to a 4-drop. It allowed him to accelerate, jump to the 6-drop in Black Sky Harbinger, which allowed him to then jump into Katra plus stuff the next turn. And it all just makes it work so much better. And wow, it's 2 games in a row now where Mask came out on turn 4, and they ended up not being close because of it.
Yeah, no, that game was an utter disaster for Praxis because of the just a little bit of a stumble on power, and immediately Katra just runs away with the game.
So we'll see if these players change up their sideboard plans anymore. Again, we don't know how many Mask and Katras ended up being in the deck post-board. As we've seen so far, Katra can be absolutely incredible against Praxis, but it's been incredible because you didn't cut the cards that were supporting it being so strong. So it is interesting to see what that number ends up being, what cards top 8 decided to cut if they wanted to make room for more Katra. Like I think Crown got cut post-board in this matchup.
Yeah, I would imagine.
Much as it pains me to say.
They're already going.
Yeah.
They're already there and going. So we've got the game up here. Yeah, and we already have a turn 2 Reliquary Raider.
Boom.
Coming down for Moosh, so a much better hand than we've seen before, and we've not a lot of other gas. Ooh, but they did draw into Flamestoker, which is a lot of value against top 8's list. They're not going to have a good answer for that.
Yeah, man, top 8 even had the ping effect for the initiate, but because Moosh was on the play, he just had that turn 2 Reliquary Raider before top 8 could prevent that from happening. And top 8 now really needs to
squeeze on power.
Yeah, has power, but really needs influence as well here, right?
Yes.
Needs double primal for wisdom, double time for Thurges. And in the meantime, Moosh gets to play out another Reliquary Raider here. Next turn has Shatterglass Mage ready to go. And man, every game so far has kind of just been these sort of snowbally.
They're just totally runaway games. Like it's a slugfest here where one deck just runs over one and then the other deck runs over the other back and forth like this. And I'm pretty sure we're going to see this Reliquary Raider run off with the game because that's a lot of card draw. That's going to be tough to come back from. We're not seeing top 8 get any draws that are super useful here.
Yeah, Moosh doesn't even have to play out Shatterglass Mage now. Finds a Sandstorm Titan instead. Gets to play that depleted power. Guarantee a 6-drop here.
And this, I imagine, a scoop from top 8 here when the Shattered Glass kills this Mask after they draw an extra 2 cards again.
If you even kill Mask here, I think you might just jam a Flamestoker. The Mask is generating 1 extra power right now, but all the other power it makes is going to be depleted. So yeah,
they do opt for the Flamestoker. Yep. I can totally see that. I mean, either play I think is pretty backbreaking. Moosh is in just such a commanding position at this point.
Yeah, top 8 can play a Thurge, and that'll maybe get in the way of something, but not really, as Moosh can do whatever he wants here, honestly. Yeah, you can Shatterglass Mage if you want, plus Xenon Initiation on the Infernus or Shatterglass Mage, whatever. It doesn't, it's just a massacre.
Yeah, there's not much to talk about here. I'm pretty sure that you initiate onto the Shatterglass Mage, kill the Theurge, and just smash.
Get a little bit of extra damage in. Yeah, because you could do it on Infernus. It's dying regardless. Okay, so that's what they opt to do. You get in less damage this turn, but theoretically more damage next turn as Shatterglass Mage is now still alive. But again, this is all kind of splitting hairs.
Absolutely.
Moosh has been drawing 2 cards a turn, and it's just insane.
Not just 2 cards, 2 extra cards a turn, in fact, is even the way to look at that. I mean, I know what you're getting at, but it's even worse than that. It's not 2 cards a turn. They're drawing 3 a turn. So I mean, they're just absolutely running over. And then the extra value of just Flamestoker essentially being the 4th card, honestly. So there's no way that they're going to be able to get out of this.
And that
And
will be...
yeah. So we were saying 4 cards a turn. How about 5 or 6?
Yeah, and both these decks, it's just about who gets disrupted less, who gets their engines running. And relic on relic action here in the post-board games as Flamestoker applies some pressure backing up these Reliquary Raiders. And we've gotten an evened up series, full count, 2-2.
Yeah, 2-2. And so they're going to the actual finals. And man, this is just, like I said, a slugfest where one deck just one hit knocks out the other and then back and forth over and over. So we'll see how this last one goes.
Yeah, both decks kind of taking this approach of minimizing interaction to the barest necessities and instead just trying to deploy these game plans of like, I'm going to throw this crazy haymaker at you and you're not going to be able to get back up from it when it hits.
Yeah, and I mean, I think that Moosh has done a good job of sideboarding. Those Shatterglass Mages are looking really good if they can get to them. So we'll see what happens here. Those relics are so important for top 8 that, like we saw it there, there's a chance of coming back from a lot of bad boards by getting a really good mask and just overwhelming with power in a turn. But when Shatterglass comes down, it just sucks all the life out of the deck immediately.
Yeah, and
so we'll see what happens.
And that's the thing with this Praxis deck. Yeah, Shatterglass and Heart of the Vault and Predatory Carnosaurs, they're the flashy things that look like they're doing the work, but the real workhorses of this matchup, I think, so far have been the Initiate into Reliquary Raider that we've seen a few games. Like a lot of these games that Moosh has won is because the early Initiate or Trailmaker lives just long enough to get that beatdown plan accelerated and online and in time that top 8 can't stabilize, can't set up what they want to do.
Yeah, absolutely. Vara's Favor is just such a huge card in its matchup because of that, honestly.
And
with
top 8 here as this game is underway is running into some of those influence issues again, but Moosh had a double Amber Monument opening, and that means this Initiative of the Sands is going to get picked off by Vara's Favor before it could do anything.
And the influence requirements are a problem, but we've got the Wisdom of the Elders being top now, so they're able to draw into more gas and probably get to that time card that they need. They can lay down the Camel and start gaining some life. Yeah, and now we see Banners, so they're kind of in a decent position here. Do you just go Camel first and try and get maximum value off of this? No, they're going to go with the Wisdom.
Yeah, they're going to Wisdom first, looks to be the plan. Just try and find more things to do. Save Camel as kind of this combo piece for later. In the meantime, Moosh does not find any power and instead going to build up the board here. Dawnwalker first and now Reliquary Raider to back it up. Reliquary Raider likely to stick around, right? This deck from top 8 not packing a lot of removal. And
no, and I really do like that. Yeah, they have to just they just have to play Theurge without the mask because the Reliquary Raider is so threatening here. The Reliquary Raider just ran away with the last game, so they have to, realize that it's such a big problem here. And there's drawing another Purify off of it. Yeah. I'm imagining the Purify is going to be getting the Theurge here.
Yep, so Theurge did deal with a Reliquary Raider and a Purify, but the Reliquary Raider replaced itself with a draw. So kind of just broke even there. But now you can play Harbinger, clear out this Dawnwalker, have a lifesteal unit on board potentially here. Although Moosh now drawing undepleted power will let him play both Trailmaker and Purify if they want to use Purify on this Black Sky Harbinger.
Well, and they might want to because all on the other side, if top 8 draws an undepleted power, they'll be able to go Camel and Katra and then pump their entire board out of range of a Purify.
Ooh, they don't use the Purify here, saving it for a bigger problem than whatever this Harbinger presents. But yeah, here comes the mask. We'll get one trigger off of it, but nothing else. So this is just setup. A whole lot of Camels and Katras waiting for something wild to happen. But now top 8's one Primal Influence away from a Channel of the Tempest. And in the meantime, can just do some other crazy stuff as now the Harbinger gets purified.
Which is really key here, because if it didn't, then you would have seen that turn that I was talking about. Oh wow.
Harbinger off the top.
That Harbinger is so good.
Sends Moosh back to 4 power.
Good. And again, so much power for top 8. Like they go back up to 9 now. So
is it? Oh my God! Moosh just went from 6 power, being able to play all these 6 drops, to 4, And yeah, Purify off the top is nice and all, but that doesn't fix the problem of just simply 2 4/5s in play and you're at 15 health.
And I think that they have to use it because they know that if like a Katra comes down, then they're for sure dead. Oh wow. Yeah, now so we get 9 power, it's Katra, Camel, Temple, and that's definitely the game.
Top 8 has this. Here we go. Going off 2 triggers.
So brutal. Yeah, Camel and just +2/+2. Have you ever seen Pack Hunt? Because that just got cast for free.
I believe I said any deck with 4 Black Sky Harbingers can just be a good deck, and that might have just played out there to the maximum. Holy cow. That was just backbreaking. Sorry, Moosh, but your Trailmakers, they tried their darndest, but couldn't withstand the Black Skies.
Yeah, the Black Sky Harbinger just so key there to clear out all of the, iffy power base from Moosh, where he just could not get enough power and was relying so heavily on those Initiates and those Trailmakers, and it just absolutely gutted him. If you had the Power Stones, you could see that going a whole different way, but with it being Trailmaker instead, it just kept ending up running into that Black Sky Harbinger and getting destroyed.
Yeah, that's
nobody expects to metagame for nobody's metagaming for Mask Crown apparently. I don't know why, but
Yeah, I think Moosh though his sideboard plan was decent and never saw the Obelisk. Don't know if they came in or not, but that would have really helped against the ping assault there. So that'll just be something they need to keep in mind for the drawing board for future games where I like Trailmaker sometimes over Power Stone, but it was notable. We talked about it. Trailmaker in the main deck with no Obelisk in the main deck could end up being a liability, and I think it played out that way in this match.
Yeah, absolutely. And I mean, it's just one of those weird ones. Like, we can't blame the Praxis mid-range list for not expecting Headgear here, because this isn't a deck that I think anybody expected, but Black Sky Harbinger just absolutely annihilating their board over and over really sealed that match for them. That was pretty much all of their wins were from that. Definitely 2 games for sure. So really good for Headgear, and I'm excited to see this continue on.
Yeah. Although I think we'll be journeying to the other side of the bracket for the next round.
Yeah.
But first we'll take a quick break, get those matches set up, get our players to readjust. It's been a taxing day, I'm sure, for them. And then we'll be back. But first, before I do that, it's everybody's favorite thing. Plug. We love plugging here. Oh yeah, it's plug time.
Excellent.
If you enjoy the Eternal Tournament series or anything else that aReNGee Eternal team does, whether it's their content on their site or the shows we put on or the random streams we do during the week, you can support us. We just volunteer our time. We do it for the love of the game. And if you want to show your support outside of simply just watching the streams or following us, you can go above and beyond and do it via our Patreon. So if you just go to www.patreon.com/aReNGee Eternal, you can go there, set up a monthly donation or donate even once. And based on our Patreon goals, there's lots of awesome things that we can bring you. Right now, it's just been the steady, great coverage, but there's future stretch goals like more weekly streams, Discord server migration, a B stream for premier events, more major events. It all goes back into making our coverage and the content we bring you better and more plentiful. So check that out. And there's lots of other ways to support the stream. If you don't want to do it via Patreon, you can simply just cheer here in the channel via bits or subscribe to the channel and get some sweet, awesome emotes. There's been a lot of new ones added in the past couple of weeks that I like the Blame Rekenner emote. That's some good stuff. So lots of ways to support us if you would so choose to, but simply just watching and following is more than enough. We appreciate any support that we can get. So there we go. That's the plug. How do you think about that, Ilyon?
Oh yeah, I mean, the Eternal Tournament series is something that we definitely need to support through Patreon. This has been a fantastic little thing, and I know that Reckoner and all of the team puts a lot of time and a lot of effort into this. So it's an amazing thing that has come on here. And I mean, we see a lot of viewers and a lot of stuff going on for Eternal because of the Eternal Tournament Series. It's really been a linchpin. So supporting the Eternal Tournament Series would be fantastic. Absolutely give a little bit of money if you can to the Patreon or in through bits, because they all very much deserve it.
And with that, now we'll take our little break. We'll be back with the semifinals next here on the Eternal Tournament Series.